everyone, I'm Ani Filipova, the creator and host of the Change is Possible podcast. My podcast is all about career changes. With the help of our guests, we uncover practical advice, actionable tips, and inspirational stories that will help make your career change possible. This is episode 24, and my guest today is an amazing young lady, Karolina Attspodina. She started her career in the digital marketing space. Then she founded her first company in the events industry. Then she sold this company and started advising and mentoring startups around the world. Today, she is the CEO and co-founder of a solar tech startup called We Do Solar. The company offers a smart balcony solar solution that can help people lower their dependency on grid energy while reducing their CO2 footprint by up to 600 kg. This is 1,000 square meters of forest and saving up to 25% of their annual electrical cost. Karolina is a passionate supporter of sustainable green innovations that help fight climate change and pollution. As a Ukrainian-born founder, one of her principal missions is to make energy independence accessible to everyone. Let's tune in. Good morning, Karolina. How are you? I'm so happy that you're at my podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm super excited about it.
And I think maybe start with icebreaker, and you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your childhood, and what did you dream to become when you were a teenager?
Oh, wow. Yeah. The dreams partially come true, I would say. So when I was a child, or when I was born, I was originally born actually in Ukraine, in Kiev. And until the age of around 10, I was living in Ukraine. After that, myself and my mother, we moved to Ireland. So I actually grew up in Dublin. And I think, during my childhood, I had two professions that I really wanted to be. And number one was plastic surgeon, because I really wanted to help people, after huge kind of accidents. So reconstructive plastic surgery. Or I wanted to be an engineer. So these were the two professions that I really, really wanted to do. Unfortunately, to some extent, when I was still studying, I still didn't get my citizenship in Ireland, so I was still Ukrainian by the passport, and the studies were super expensive. And I was like, okay, there's no way. I don't want my mom to pay all this money for me to study one of these professions. And I made, a promise to myself that at some point, I'm going to end up in technology. So this is how it's going to happen. I don't know how, but I'm going to end up in technology, and I'm going to be there anyway, even if I don't, become an engineer by the paper.
I see.
So I studied business management and economics. And my biggest dream was I want to work in tech. And I want to make sure that I can see the world at the same time. Yeah, that I can also travel and really, be excited about my job. That was like my biggest dream. And I had no idea what I need to do to actually get there. No idea, zero. And at some point, one of my friends, she told me, I'm going to work in Berlin. Why don't you come with me? Why don't you try? It's going to be a digital agency, and you will see how things work. Maybe this is your way to get into technology. I'm like, wow, yeah, maybe this is a good way. And pretty much, 11 years ago, this is how the whole thing happened. Okay. That I actually came, you can say, to tech and, Berlin and everything that is happening here. And back then it was just a few startups, that were kind of like rising and raising crazy amounts of money. And this is what pretty much brought me to where I am today.
Wow. So from medical, right, reconstruction surgeon, to technology, and then digital. A lot of different dreams, which is great. And I absolutely relate with this desire to travel, because I also, one of my drivers behind my career was also travel. What can I do so I can travel? All right, so this is how you started your work trajectory. You started in a digital agency, right? And what happened after that? How everything developed? It's very interesting to see, when you look back, you see how the dots are connected. So tell us about these first several dots that you connected.
To be honest, everything was super random at the start. I had no idea if it will work out, if I will really get what I want. I started working in a digital agency, quite a large one, as a salesperson, basically selling traffic, selling air, as I like to call it. And at some point, I understood that, okay, for me to be able to travel, I need to be good at what I do. Because at the end of the day, people who are good at their job, they're the ones who are going to the conferences.
Yeah.
And I need to potentially find out how everything works within the company. So I went to our CEO and I asked, do you mind if I will work, each month I will work in a different department, so I know better how each department works. So it's easier for me to then sell, our services. He was like, yeah, this is first time somebody asked me this, but sure, I think this is a cool idea. Why don't you do this? So I worked really in every single department, and we have 12 different departments. And I understood so much how things work. When I was working in the technical department for this 1 month, I learned so much, how to implement certain things with ease without potentially even going to the tech team. And this gave me so much power and so much speed as well, with our clients, that they were saying, I only want to work with Karolina because she knows how to implement things and she doesn't even need to take the time, And this was really fantastic. And after this whole experience, of course, I started going to conferences. And the next 5 years, I was all over the world, traveled, in US, in Asia, all over Europe. And I think my peak was probably 62 conferences a year. Wow. And that was a lot. That was really a lot.
62.
Yeah.
And after that, was it then what was your first company that you founded?
So my first company was actually in the events business, simply because I had so many contacts from all these conferences that I went to. And my thinking back then was, like, now that I think about it, it was really wrong the way I thought. Because I was thinking, okay, how can I monetize these connections that I made? And I have thousands of them. What can I do? And I remember that so many people were asking me, how can we get, to Eastern Europe? How can we get developers? How can we, can you introduce us? What are the companies that we can work with? And I was like, oh, maybe I should, create something that will actually bring people all together in Eastern Europe. And I created one of the biggest conferences in East Europe for technology. And we were helping people to go from desktop experience to mobile experience, which was very, very new back then. Nobody knew how to create the apps. Nobody knew how to market these apps because the marketing was very different. And this was my first startup. It was super hard. I had no idea that I'm not going to be paid or paying myself for like a year and a half. Because we didn't have the money, and all the money, from sponsorships that we were getting were going towards, employees. At some point, we had 27 people working within the company. We had our own production team, and everything was just crazy in a way because it was first time for me and for my business partner that we were creating a company. But it was super rewarding because it was our baby, it was our first little baby that we created. Obviously, after some time, we understood that event business is not the business that we want to be in, and we should be doing more meaningful things than what we created here. And at some point, we were super happy that we actually sold the company. So this was a great success of ours, I would say. But we understood that no, it's not an event business that we're going to be in.
I see. And how did you decide to found a company? Rewind. So the next question is, why is it appealing to you to be entrepreneur and forge your own path versus being an employee? Why? And if you can tell us, what are the most valuable lessons from this first company you created?
Yeah, I think it's super hard to go back to being employed again after you have founded something by yourself. And after you have this freedom to really decide what you're doing, to make certain ideas, come to life. And it's almost like an adrenaline that you cannot get rid of. It's super, super hard. So I know that I cannot be employed anymore. Like this is not possible. It's just not the discussion for me. I think from my very first company, I understood that it's really not about being good at something specific or being good at everything. You cannot be good at everything. It's just the reality. So you need to make sure that you can accept it, and you can accept, people that are good at a certain type of job, to give them space to do that. And at the end, when you are a founder, it becomes more of people management rather than anything else. It's managing people to make sure that the tasks that you really want to be done are done by the people around you. So I think this was the main lesson, to be honest. And I know, when you're founding a company and it's very fresh and it's very new, you understand that you're going to have multiple hats. You're going to be doing tech, you're going to be doing sales, you're going to be doing marketing, you're doing everything, at the same time. But when the time comes to really let go, it's a good time, it's a really good time to let go and to let, others be kind of, at the forefront and do things for you.
Great learning. I'm sure that you use them in your current company. And let's talk now about your jump to the climate-related industry, because, digital, after that events, and after that climate industry. Why?
I will tell you a little story. So I was at a conference in Berlin, and I met a fantastic woman. I believe she was on your podcast as well.
Yeah.
I met Lubomila. So Lubomila was giving a speech about climate change and, how, what a terrible state, our planet is. And during her last kind of sentences, she was crying on stage. And I was like, wow, oh my God, I need to meet this woman. This is incredible. Someone so passionate about, what they talk about and what they want to potentially build. I need to help her. So I met with Lubomila, and I tried to help her with everything I could, and we're still very great friends and support each other very much in what we do on a daily basis. But she really brought me to clean tech. She really brought me to kind of like the startups that have an impact on our world. And the past, I think, 5 years, I was very dedicated to actually help green tech startups, and not just any business, to succeed, to raise money, to make sure that they know how to go to market, how to create sales funnels, how to basically structure their business so it's a success. Because I believe that green tech startups have such a huge opportunity and huge way to actually go out into the world, leave a huge impact, but also have a profitable business, and super profitable business. So she was the one who actually brought me to green tech.
Yeah.
And the past few years, I mean, I've been advising lots of companies, and my last companies were in the solar tech, and I just saw the opportunity, how big the market is, and how what an amazing impact it actually leaves on our world, that everyone can actually have access to renewable energy. And this really kind of like touched me and got me to think, okay, what can I do? But there was definitely a time, when there was Corona, and I decided, okay, I'm going to leave Berlin and I'm going to go to Portugal. I'm going to live in Lisbon, because why not?
Yeah.
And I had someone basically, showing me through the city, and they were saying, we're really, not the most, let's say, rich country in Europe, but we're really trying to be energy efficient. And it was Christmas time, when we were walking through the city, and she was telling me, all the lights, for example, that you see, do you see all these like Christmas lights, all this Christmas tree that we have on the main, plaza? I was like, yeah, like looks amazing. She's like, well, to tell you the truth, this is something that we never change. It's always the same every single year. I'm like, totally makes sense. Why should we, spend billions of euros for decorations when it's, there for a couple of weeks? And she was like, and, we actually don't spend energy on any of it. I'm like, okay, how? Actually, all of the stuff is solar based. So it charges during the day, and then during the night, it lights up for the people and for the city. I'm like, wow, it totally makes sense. I wonder why are other countries not doing this, because this is so smart and this makes so much sense. And this really fascinated me. And I, from this point on, like I was really thinking about, okay, what can I do with solar, to give access to people that potentially are not in the situation that they have their own, house and they can put it on a rooftop, but they can have access just like me, someone who is renting an apartment and also has access to renewable energy. And I think like that's when, I started thinking about what can I create to actually give this access to people.
Okay, so let's talk about your company, and if you can actually tell us how do you start? How do you start? What are the first 2-3 things you do when you have a startup? Because it's like for anyone who's been in a corporate career, it's like, oh, to be entrepreneur is this amazing thing, but it's tough. I mean, I've been out of the corporate life for a year now, and it's tough to start up something new. So tell us about your company and the first things you did.
It's definitely super hard, no doubt about it. But I do enjoy it. Yeah, like it's tough love, I would say.
Yeah.
But so the first thing, I mean, what I didn't do with my first company, I never had any kind of backup plan. I never had any savings. This was a huge mistake. For this company, I knew that I had to have some savings, because I knew that for some time I will not have a salary. I will not be paying myself, because you try to focus, 100% on what you do in order to succeed. So when you start something, you cannot have a part-time job somewhere because you need to pay your bills. It doesn't work. It works in a very small percentage of people. I prefer when you are starting to be 100% on what you do, and only then you will succeed, because you are really, focused on your idea, on this company becoming really a reality. And number one is probably having some savings for some time, so you can survive from 6 months to 12 months, without potentially having a salary. That's the reality. Number two, at the end of the day, I'm not an engineer, so still my experience is in sales and in marketing. I'm very lucky that it's sales and marketing of technical products, because this is what, I was passionate about. And it definitely helps me to, market my company now, and to understand how to potentially create simplified products for people that will be interesting for them to buy. I had to get a co-founder. I had to get someone who is on the technical side. And I've been very, very lucky with my co-founder. I love him very much. He's absolutely incredible person. And actually, we were put in touch together by a company builder in Berlin who still works with us. And I'm beyond grateful for this. It's super hard to find a co-founder. And I think like that's one of the things that you need to decide as an entrepreneur. Are you going to be solo or you're going to be with someone? For me, I know that it's much easier when I have a partner, a business partner. And we also pick each other up during the times when we feel down because these days totally exist. And it's nice to have someone who can potentially take things over if you're not feeling well, or if you just not having a good day, or if you're sick, so your business doesn't come to complete still. So for me, having a partner is my way of doing business. But for some, it could be much easier to do it solo,
Yeah. So you have moved from one industry to another, and sometimes without any prior expertise in that new industry. So how did you plan these moves, and what helped you so you can succeed in the particular industry you've chosen?
To be honest, I think I'm just crazy enough to try and to not be scared to fail. Even if I fail, I at least will tell myself, okay, I tried. But for example, for me, I don't have this, barrier of being scared. I don't have a barrier of telling myself in my head that, oh, but there's all these people who have all these experience, for example, in the energy industry, and I don't. No, I am naturally curious, and I teach myself, and I speak to potential, people that, are in this industry, to actually teach me about what is happening in this industry and what is missing. So I think like the very first steps is to find out how the really industry is, to make proper research, to learn a lot about it, and then to start something. And this was exactly the path. So for me, I don't have, I'm not scared of starting something new. And I know that any industry, absolutely any, can be taught, It's just like going to college or to university and, studying something to be someone, It's the same thing, exactly the same procedure. And I hope that more and more people, and especially women, will not have this fear that they're not good enough. We are all good enough. And in many ways, we know much, much more than even people that have been in this industry, because they're in their own bubble the whole time. And the more, let's say, curiosity you have, the more kind of knowledge about different industries you have or different topics you have, the more open-minded you are to create something amazing.
Great. Wow. This is very well said. Thank you. You mentioned about finances. Can you tell the listeners, what is your financial discipline? How do you make sure that you can live through the months while you're not paid? How do you do savings, the style of life, etc.?
I wouldn't say, my life is very simple. I'm not, someone who spends tons of money on something. One of the weaknesses that I have is definitely restaurants and great food. Luckily, I'm also with an amazing partner, with an amazing guy who also owns restaurants. so this is a plus. So we have the same passion. He's also a fully fledged chef. So it just happened this way that we fell in love with each other. But this is one weakness of mine, where I spend quite a lot of money is definitely, food. Otherwise, I am living a very simple life. We're living in a small apartment. We don't really need much. I don't have a car because I don't think I need it. I also find it way more green and way more better for our environment not having a car. I'm trying to take trains when possible. When it's not possible, of course, there is an airplane. But there are definitely, ways to not spend too much money, because happiness doesn't really come from how much money you have or how much money you spend. It's about, the people that surround you. It's about, the experiences that you have. So I guess, bigger finances can give you maybe experiences that you have never imagined to have, or to acquire these experiences for sure. But otherwise, I don't need actually much to be happy, So
Great.
My finances, I don't think I have a structure, to be honest. I don't have a structure of like savings. No, I don't like to restrict myself in certain things. So if I feel like I want to get something, I just get it, So it's not a restriction of mine to kind of stay within the borders, to make sure that I save this month. Okay, I didn't save this month, then I will save next month.
And how did you finance your company and the company before that? Was it your own money or you had investors?
Yeah, so with the first one, it was our own money, 100%. We never had any investors, so we were profitable after the first, I would say, like 9 months of having the company. Because of course, like as an events business, nobody knows you first, and then you have to have some time to actually build up your name. And then after 9 months, we actually were making profit. So we never had any investors, which was also an amazing experience to understand that you can raise a company, without any investment. This company, yes, partially our money, so money from like our savings. And partially investors. So we approached some angel investors that invested into our company, that also came from very different fields, but who believed in our mission and what we do, and who believe that, our product will be number one. Yeah, that we are the team who is actually going to make it happen. And it's also a very interesting experience raising money from others, because you feel so much almost tension and so much responsibility, like you're spending money, not your own money.
Not your own money. Yeah.
So it's like there is no other way but to succeed. That's it.
Yeah, that's
it. You can only do this, because otherwise, obviously, understand that like your name will be damaged. This is something that will stay with you for a long time. But I don't want to like scare people. Like you should still, try and do it, and hopefully succeed. But it doesn't happen to everyone, and it's a very, very tough road for sure.
Okay, so if young people want to start a career in climate tech, green industry, what advice would you give to them in both finding a job or establish a company? Do you need a degree? What kind of skills sought after?
Of course, like every single company, you're looking for professionals in a certain field. However, I think green tech companies are way more open to people who are just simply passionate about what they do. And it's the same for me. I don't really care about, fancy universities. I don't care what type of experience you had before. I really want to see that the person is passionate about something, and they might have been, doing, outsource cold calling, but they want to do marketing, and this is what they, this is what they dream at night about. And I like to give these people a try, because it makes sense. And usually they have a lot of great ideas that others potentially don't have. So for me, it's truly passion for what they do. I want them to really enjoy their work and what they do on a daily basis. And this is how I, feel about my company. I love what I do. And that's how I want my employees to feel as well. And if I can, also raise potentially, entrepreneurs within my company that will then come out, and create other impactful companies. Wow, this is, huge impact for me that I would love to have.
Great. And what about mid-career professionals? They're in the middle of their career in an industry and they are passionate, as you said. But let's say they have they don't have any other experience than, let's say, being in a bank or a financial institution or any other company. How can they bridge that gap to?
So, being or having experience in a bank, first of all, is hugely valuable because this helps so much with fundraising. Obviously, understanding the financials and understanding how to form your financials for the company, this is huge. This is one of the biggest things, for us that we need to know. And it's not always so easy, to form a business plan, for example, right? So I think if you are coming from a financial world, this is much, much easier to do because you exactly know how the business plan should look like and you exactly know how the financials should potentially look like to raise money for your company. So this is a huge plus. To go from that to owning your own company, whatever it is, there are so many examples of ex-bankers creating their own companies. I don't see why there is a barrier. Absolutely not. And as I said, you just have to know what you're good at and do what you are good at and potentially, have either business partners or, employees that are good at doing the things that you cannot fulfill. And then things would work out 100%.
Wow, I love your positive attitude.
Thank you.
Let's finish the podcast with your top 3 pieces of advice for people who would like to change their career. They want to pivot. What should they do? You have experience in changing industries, going from being an employee to entrepreneur. What are your top 3 things people should know?
Okay, so number one of the things that I still do until this day that helped me tremendously and kind of like opens up my, let's say, vision to other industries and other things that are happening in the world is every single week I introduce myself or somebody introduces me to a person that I have never spoken to, I have never met before, and someone who's from an industry that potentially either makes me maybe a bit uncomfortable or I have no idea about. So, I spoke to like NASA, employees. I spoke to people that work potentially, for Tesla. So just kind of going beyond what you know and what like you potentially have in your head or maybe what you're living on a daily basis opens up so many opportunities and so many cool discussions that if you do this kind of exercise and even if you introduce yourself to like one person a week, let's say, to speak about different topics, it's incredible how much knowledge you can actually get from others. So like don't be afraid because a lot of people are willing to share and they want to communicate and potentially help you with your idea even. So whenever you have an idea, go to people that are potentially in this industry, industry or maybe even other industries because you can get so many ideas from it. So this is number one. Number two is simply not to be afraid because we're all human beings and we don't do business, company to company. It's people to people always. And when you're creating a company, you need to believe in yourself, but also understand that it's people's business. And when you're getting investors, they're not investing in your company, they're investing in you as a person. What type of person are you? Are you open? Are you positive? Are you, are you trustful? Are you honest with them? And all of these things, people pick up on very, very fast. And maybe it's like very cliche to say that I think that the more positivity you have, the more people are attracted to you and attracted to potentially your business and potentially want to be near you and want to do business with you as well. So I think, this positivity and just being open and honest is a huge thing. And number 3 is to just do it and
just
not
do
care.
It.
And not care about what others say, and not care about what your potential family says, because I think this is a stopper for a lot of people, listening to the family. And usually, at least in my case also, not always my family believes in me or believes in what I do. So I think if you kind of leave that behind and really do what you're passionate about and what makes you happy, this is the best way you can go about things.
Great. Thank you so much. Tell the listeners where they can find your products, anything that you want to share about your company.
Sure. So, because we never spoke about it. So what I do is I provide very, you can say, smart and customizable products of solar energy for everybody's home. So you can install it yourself on your balcony. So you can have access to renewable energy as a completely normal human being that lives in an apartment and not in a house. And you can find us on we.do.solar. So We Do Solar is the name of the company. We're on social media. We're, of course, we have our own website where you can also chat with our customer service team and ask them questions. So if anyone feels like they would like to have a piece of renewable energy in their home, I would be happy to help.
Great. Thank you so much, Karolina. It was absolute pleasure talking to you and seeing this positive, very nice person in front of me. So I wish you all the very best and big success to your company.
Thank you very much, Annie. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.